Hello, a very good morning, a very good evening to all of you who have gathered here with us today. I'm Road Tractor Voni Abhayavardhana, the compeer for the evening. Thank you very much for streaming into our panel discussion, Heroes in Marketing and Strategy, an initiative by the Road Track Club of NIBM and EdScale Up together with the community partner ICT. Ladies and gentlemen, before we move forward, I would like to introduce to you what this discussion is about. Today, we bring to you the importance of women's role in the industry, hosting the cream of female corporates in Sri Lanka to dissect topic future potential for women in marketing careers. Ladies and gentlemen, given the status quo we live in and the youth who assess this particular subject, there might be misconceptions, there might be different approaches on how you would comprehend this topic. And we are going to discuss this with our intellectuals we have with us here today to understand about the women in marketing, tools and technology in marketing, the gender gap, and the challenges faced by the female marketers. So without any further ado, to join the discussion today, we have three distinguished speakers that I will introduce to you now. A powerful, inspiring character who thrives on cultivating the General Manager of ADA Sri Lanka, Mrs. Sanjini Munavira. Good evening, ma'am.
Hi.
Hi. Another well-experienced, unique individual who leads many people in the field, Mrs. Imara Dichikera. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Hi, everyone.
Hi. And another well-experienced individual who leads many people and who works with the marketing consultant with technology companies for more than 15 years, Mrs. Kushlani De Silva. Good evening, ma'am.
Hi, Ubani. Good evening. Hi, everyone.
Hi. It's nice to have three of you all here today. And first of all, I would like to thank you very much for sparing time for us despite of your busy work schedules. So all right, ladies and gentlemen, you are looking at your three exceptional speakers who will be providing to us wisdom with regard to the topic, women's role in the industry. So my first question is going to point to Mrs. Sanjini. What do you think are the future potential for women enrolling in marketing careers?
So marketing is not something that's going to go out of fashion, right? As long as you have brands and as long as you have people buying those brands, marketing will always be fashionable. The thing is that when I first started 25 years ago, we didn't have access to the kinds of tools and kind of platforms that you have today. So it becomes all the more important for us in marketing to try to understand what life stages customers are at, or where they're buying their products, which platforms they're on, how do we get our messages across to them. So those things become very, very important. And analytics has become something that is like commonplace, something that plays a huge role today in the life of a marketer. So from where I'm sitting and from the current job that I do with a heavy dependence on data, something that I see is that technology, roles in how to derive insights from all these different data that you're getting hit with. Those are some of the things and some of the areas that is the future potential for ladies. And I think with the advent of AI, for example, you will find a lot of tools, a lot of um, things happening where it gets automated. So how well you are able to understand how those automation points work, all those things are something that is very new, very topical, and going into the next 5 to 10 years, things that become very relevant in our field.
Yeah, that was very informative. Thank you, Mrs. Sanjini. So, Ms. Kushlani, in your opinion, how important is it for women to strive through the marketing field?
Yeah, thank you, Annie. So I think it's very important, and I think that the current conditions should allow it as well. So speaking about my experience, although I've worked for close to 15 years, I didn't start off as a marketer. I started off in customer service, and then it was in 2009 that I really got into a marketing role. And I think the beauty of marketing, just like what Sanjini was saying, is that it is not something that will ever die down, or the potential of it will not reduce no matter what happens in the world around you. If at all, it will add to the potential of what you can do. So I think for anyone, and for women in particular, the opportunities that marketing poses over the years will only continue to grow. And what I also want to highlight is that it might not necessarily be an opportunity within an organization. It can even be an opportunity for you to do something yourself, which is what I'm doing at the moment. So there's so many niches within marketing, whether you're in branding, whether you're in media, whether you're in content, SEO. There are so many places that you can apply your talents and explore. And you can always change what you're doing as well, because when you start off, you probably start off as a generalist and you get to know the entire scope of marketing, and later you might want to specialize, and you might want to focus your efforts on a particular area. So considering all of that, I think it's really important that that we thrive in the career of marketing, because we need strong female individuals to be able to come out and even nurture and empower some of the marketers of tomorrow. Because although speaking from the tech industry in particular, which is where I have experience from, there is good representation of women in tech, but women in tech marketing, not so much. So I think as the conditions and as the environment becomes more conducive and better for women to come in, it will help them thrive. So I think it's absolutely important for the marketers of today as well as for the marketers of tomorrow that we make as much effort as possible to really thrive and do our best in marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And my next question is to Mrs. Imara. So, what advice would you give the younger generation of female marketers like us as to why joining the marketing field will be beneficial for their lives, and why they shouldn't be afraid to pursue that opportunity? What advice can you give them?
So I think marketing is a great field for women to be in. Marketing is basically selling a product, a thought, or ideology to someone else. It's making someone want something they don't know they needed, or make a consumer choose your product over another. So in order to do this, you need to be able to lead the development of visually attractive, beautiful, or intriguing pieces of communication. The content in whatever form it comes in, it should be attention grabbing, emotionally connecting. And to achieve this, you have to be creative and you have to be intuitive. And I believe that the majority of women are born with this innate softness and ability to understand others. So I've had the opportunity to meet and work with a lot of amazing male marketers, but it's quite often the women in their team that they turn to take care of projects that require added finesse or psychological astuteness. So I genuinely feel that marketing is a very, very suitable area for a woman to be in and to be extremely successful in. So I would recommend marketing to anyone who loves to create, communicate, and influence people And I think it's a perfect outlet for you and for all your talents and to create something that is seen and heard by millions. I mean, listening to your radio commercial, seeing something that you've written in a magazine or like a newspaper is just incredible, that feeling. So even if you're in the same place for maybe 10 years, you'll never be bored because you're not doing the same kind of, systematic thing. It'll always be different. It'll be always unique. And every day it will be something new that you wake up and go to work to. So I would strongly recommend women as well as even men to choose marketing as a field.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Amara. And turning back to Ms. Kushlani again, like what made you want to pursue your career in the marketing field? Who were your role models?
So to be honest, I didn't have any role models per se, because I would like to say that I didn't. It wasn't my first choice for a career. What I really wanted to do as soon as I left school was either pursue a degree in economics or follow something in financial management like accountancy. And then by chance I came across CIM and the qualification, and I was just looking at the modules, and I realized that marketing captures what I wanted to study as well. So there is obviously an element of economics, going down to the basics of demand and supply. There's obviously a play in accounting, financial management, budgeting, and so on. So when I read up on the course curriculum and when I did my research, I found that, okay, marketing gives me the opportunity to really be creative, to really go that extra mile in terms of understanding audiences, understanding buyer behavior, and understanding what is around you. And I felt that I could do more than what I was hoping to do if I had economics or accounting. And once I started studying it, I also learned that as a marketer, you never really go out of that role. And it is not limited to just doing it during the hours of your job. Even when you're out with your friends, or you've gone out to buy something, you still have your marketer hat on, almost, I would like to say. So even though it wasn't my first choice for a career, and I didn't really have any role models, or there wasn't anyone I was inspired by particularly, I'm really thankful I chose it as a career, because it's helped me become who I am today, not just concerning my career, but also concerning me as a person. And I love the overall scope it's given me, and the ability it's given me to be a more thoughtful, more receptive, and more attentive person.
Even though it was not your first choice, it had given you more.
Absolutely. I'm very thankful that I chose it.
Great. And turning back to Mrs. Sanjini, so we say that every person have characteristics. So likewise, what should a good marketer should hold? What kind of qualities?
I think what's most important is marketing is a place where you get to work with a lot of people. So being able to cultivate meaningful relationships is very important. Sometimes you may be an entrepreneur, you might be doing something on your own, but still you have to be able to get things done collaborating with someone else. It could be a supplier, it could be an agency person, it could be someone who's driving a little bit of innovation in your product, whatever it may be. So you have to be really a people person and be able to cultivate those relationships. You have to be a super storyteller because it's all about communication. So if you don't know how to articulate yourself or even articulate a thought that you have, or it could be a product, it could be some innovation you're bringing, anything. You have to be able to make someone else understand what you're talking about. So in one of my very first, in the second or third role after I left advertising, I was with a bunch of, as I call them, geeks, because it was a tech company. And they used to talk to me in all their code language and confuse me when I got into a discussion. So I used to tell them, hey, if I can't understand this, I don't know how I'm going to sell this. So you better dumb it down Make sure that it's spoken to me in really simple language, because I have to now put this whole thing together like tying a little ribbon and go and package it. So I think that communication is really important. Another thing I think as of late that has been become even more relevant is this whole concept of analytics. We sometimes as ladies don't spend too much time in that or don't like to dwell on it. I particularly, if someone shows me an Excel sheet, I just blank out. But you have to be comfortable with the different metrics that are coming. You're part of so much data, so much research that keeps hitting you. So you should be able to understand it and interpret it. The other thing I think is creativity. You have to have a spark. You have to have that fire in your belly, be it bringing out something new or thinking outside the box. It's just a role that you have to be really creative in, and you have to have that little spark in you. Otherwise, it's going to become a very challenging role. The other final thing is also you have to be a good team player, because marketing is not a role that you generally play on your own. There are different types of people, from product development to the end game, even the person who's selling your product in a kade. So you have to be able to work with all these cross sections of people, and you will find that you don't get the same type of people who are in your wavelength. You will have different types of people. So it becomes very important that you are able to work in that team and collaborate. So those are the 5 things that I think are really important.
Thank you, Mrs. Sanjini. This message is for the audience. There's a attendance sheet in the chat box that you have to fill. Please fill it and mark your attendance. I hope I'm audible enough.
Yeah, you are. We can hear you.
It's ma'am.
this message is to the audience and the panelists as well. Our moderator is having a bit of technical difficulty due to a weather difference in her area. Please bear with us for a minute and she will be reconnected soon. Thank you.
So sorry for the inconvenience occurred. It's heavily raining here. Real sorry. I'm back. So the next question was to Mrs. Imara. Thankfully, I remember that. So are there any current trends or advantages in the marketing career now?
So of course, I think marketing is way more exciting than when I started. With social media constantly evolving and transforming into new possibilities, the methods and the impact of communication are getting deeper and more intrinsic to the audience. Like communication used to be more detached, press adverts, radio, TV commercials, they do communicate and they do touch emotions. However, it's social media that can actually reach directly into your home and then into your mind and then finally into your heart like never before. So brands are leaning more and more heavily into utilizing social media, influencers, YouTubers to make people actually experience the product and touch it and feel it by just seeing others interact with it, and that I think is really powerful. And we also see technology powering marketing in a brand new way, like artificial intelligence to creative tech solutions. There's never been such a massive and quick evolution taking place in the world of communication. So if you take AI, you can maybe even kind of bring to life, if I say you're in real estate, you have a press ad which is on a magazine, you can actually showcase the actual building and bring it to life on the magazine itself. There are so many exciting new tools that you can do to actually make the product tangible and not just a flat 2D picture on a piece of paper. So I think the new evolution in marketing is unlike anything else that we've ever seen before. And I think it's something that people need to harness and run with it.
Mrs. Sanjini, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah. So yeah, I think we live in this world today that power has shifted. Those days, a brand used to talk to people. It was like a one-way communication because it was a press ad or a TV commercial. So, like Imara mentioned, today social media has given the power over to consumers. You find people making their observations on forums. They've taken power and control. So, people, the consumer is demanding quality, they are demanding better service, and they're also demanding that products engage with them much better. So that is a huge challenge, I think, for a marketer because it's always keeping us on our toes. We are always watching what's happening. So it's no longer a clock going at 9 o'clock and clock off at, I don't even at 10 o'clock in the night. It's like a 24/7 buzz. You have to always know what's happening and be on top of everything because someone can put something out on a social media platform and within seconds it has gone viral, or someone has created a meme over some campaign that you thought was super fantastic and wanted to you were so excited about it, you launch it and someone has taken it down. So it's really an interesting time to be in marketing, and I think consumers have a lot of power, and that definitely will keep our lives a little more entertained and a lot more on the ball. So yeah, that's what I wanted to add.
Okay, Ms. Kushlani, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with what Imara and Sanjini mentioned as well. And I think consumers are also a lot more intelligent than they used to be, because they have access to a lot of information, and they are able to make comparisons between your product and between a competitor's product so fast. So, and that combined with the power of social media means that, you know, you're in a bad situation, your brand can break in a couple of seconds. So because the consumer is so knowledgeable and has access to be able to share that knowledge with his or her network, you have to be absolutely careful about the messages that you put out there and about how you portray your brand. So that's something I think as marketers, any marketer, you know, female or male, has to pay special attention to. And I think even within social media, there are lots of trends and different ways to connect. If you take Twitter, for example, actually backing up a little. So Instagram was the first social media channel that started stories, but now Twitter, LinkedIn have their own versions of stories, you know, as fleets. For example, Twitter has fleets. So you have to always that social media as a platform is evolving, yes, but it is also evolving as a means of how it keeps up with the rest of the platforms. So I think those are some of the trends and techniques that any marketer has to both look forward to and be able to capitalize on, depending on how well it suits your brand and your audience.
Okay. So, Sanjini, due to this COVID outbreak, so many changes happened in every single field, not only in marketing, in education, in every field. So, how did this affect on the marketing field? What changes happened in the marketing field due to this COVID-19 outbreak?
Okay, so I think in Sri Lanka we found that suddenly we had to buy everything online and not a single company was ready. So I think that for us was a huge learning. So now you see a lot of people making sure that their e-commerce is up and running, their sites are all adaptable, or that you have certain apps that are able to deliver things in a jiffy. So I was telling you guys, I think a few days ago when we were having a discussion. I moved into a new house, and everything that I bought, from my furniture replacements to everything, was off Instagram. I find I'm browsing Instagram almost daily just to make sure that I support the local industry. I think that's another thing that happened post COVID. A lot of the entrepreneur spaces, people started taking notice of them. And I had never seen so many homegrown, for example, vegetable stuff, or even just agriculture stuff, or just plants for your house. All of those things, we found a lot of people bringing products down and selling it off Instagram itself. Some of them have physical stores today after COVID, but it's really interesting that those are some of the things that came up. So the other thing is that a lot of people are still working from home. That puts a lot of pressure on companies that are providing data facilities, providing the ability, because sometimes you're not sure as a team lead if everyone on your team is actually working. So you have had to have a little bit more faith on your teams to know that these guys are actually putting in that time and effort, because meetings can start off at 7 o'clock in the morning because you're at home and people just expect you to come out into those meetings. And sometimes your days go on till 11, 12, because it's endless, because you're not clocking off from an office, a physical office. And that has also given rise to things like a lot of us who didn't have any technology know-how are now forced to uh, accept technology, dabble with technology, get on a Zoom call, find a background if you need to, make sure, because suddenly everybody has come into your home space, right? So even as marketers now, that in itself, like, there's opportunity. You can float virtual backgrounds, things, and use that to market your product, for example, things that we never thought of. The other thing I think is even the whole concept of our fundamentals that have shifted. So consumers today or people in general have turned to technology for their sense of connectivity and community. And that's a very powerful thing because you are reaching out to people across the world and now you're comfortable doing that. And all of this time, I think digital and online, yes, people knew or marketers knew, but they are, Sri Lanka is still in a 0 to 25% space in terms of embracing digital for as a form of marketing. So I think suddenly there was this explosion, and people realized that you have your phone with you 8 hours of the day. On average 6 to 8 hours a human being spends on their phone, for example. So there is a new although brands were doing a lot of say TV type advertising and all of that, suddenly you found that now they are moving into this platform. And in this platform you can't do a 30-second commercial. It has to be a 6 second, an 8 second, a 2 second, a meme, something that grabs that attention. So those things have actually evolved and changed. So some of the way in which we used to market ourselves, the platforms we use, and the types of people we're talking to have changed with COVID. People have got so used to, little communities that you have built, your little home, your little set of friends, not these large communities that you were part and parcel of. So you're a little bit more careful. So these are all these influence groups that are now telling working with you to make your life safer. So even things like doorstep delivery, never did I go through an app and order something and bring it home. But now you're not only ordering it, you're telling me to bring it out the door. So all of these are things that came about because of COVID. I think she's gone again.
Yeah, I think we've lost Uvani. Yeah, so just a couple of my observations as well. So back when I was at WSO2, we would make a huge investment of our marketing budget into sponsoring events. And there are different technology events that usually happen within our space. So by sponsoring, we would have a booth, we'd fly some of the architects or the engineers over for the event. And, we'd do it as a brand awareness as well as lead generation mechanism, that then the account managers would follow up on. So as soon as COVID happened, events kind of came to a standstill before people figured out how to go about virtual events. So the minute that happened, we knew that our investments, our budget couldn't go as planned because COVID naturally meant that, we would take a hit on our sales and revenue. So we couldn't go with the same marketing budget that we had previously. So we had a smaller budget. We knew that the largest contributor of the budget was now a little unsteady because the event organizers all either said, look, we're going to cancel it, or you have to give us some time to figure out how we're going to do this virtually. So then even as a company, although we were doing digital marketing, we were doing content marketing, we realized, okay, this is the right time to tap into those avenues. Now, the challenge in tapping to those avenues is that everybody was doing it, because the minute COVID happened, everybody said, let's invest more in digital marketing, let's write more content, let's create more videos, let's put it on YouTube, and so on and so forth. So those channels were also now getting very, very crowded. So not only did we have to shift priorities in terms of budgets and in terms of how we got members of the marketing team as well as the engineering teams to spend their time, we also had to pay extra attention to what is that content going to be. Because in a crowded space, if your message doesn't stand out, if it doesn't grab attention, people are going to scroll past it, because there are 3 other articles or 4 other white papers that are going to tell you the same thing, probably in a better way. So COVID meant that you had to rethink how you were allocating your investments and rethink how you were telling the message. The same way you told the message pre-COVID was not going to work now. So a lot of thought had to be put into just creating the right message and finding the right channels for it. That's one real life example that I saw from how COVID really changed how we did marketing.
Yeah, and I also would like to add something else. I completely agree with Sanjini. I too shifted recently and I purchased most of my, I would say 70% of my homeware, my electricals online, and that's something I would have never done pre-COVID. I mean, I used to want to touch and feel and see what I'm buying, but I've got so used to selecting things online, and I mean, I think it's a very effective way of purchasing as well. It's saving time. It also is more cost effective because I don't need to travel, and helps you make the right purchase decisions because you can compare with so many other items that are out there and choose the best one that's there for you. And also, think we all have realized that to do a business, to sell products, you no longer need a brick and mortar shop anymore. I think the COVID period brought about the most number of entrepreneurs all over the world. People who never have thought of starting a business started businesses because they lost their jobs, or because they had an idea, or they were very, very agile and they could kind of capitalize on a bad situation. And I think right now you have your strong Instagram account, your Facebook account, and a really good product, and you know how to communicate and sell it. That will make you very, very successful in a very short time. So, and I also think that we noticed that there was a kind of a death to print. Newspapers and magazines actually completely died. I mean, nobody printed any longer, and it was mostly, everything was driven online. So I think COVID has brought on a completely new era in marketing that none of us have ever experienced before. Print is making a comeback, and it won't die down as long as we have, you know, the older generation in most of the leading seats as directors and CEOs of companies, because they rely heavily on newspapers. But eventually, both those avenues of communication will become dinosaurs, and there will be evolutions of new ways to get across your news and articles. So yeah, that's what I wanted to add.
I'm really sorry for the inconvenience occurred. And Vani, the company, I'm back. It's really heavily raining over here. But my next question is to Ms. Kushlani. How do you think women can adapt themselves in the marketing field of any organization in the light of the challenges they face, despite of them?
Right. So I think more than adaptability, really, yes, I suppose you can adapt, but I think what you need to do first and foremost is focus on your strengths, because whether you are a woman or you're a man, when it comes to solving a problem or getting a campaign, or you know, just working together with your team, it's your skills and your approach and your knowledge that's going to matter, not the fact that you know, whether you're a girl so you can do it better, or because you're a guy you can do it better. So I think you know, you just have to get head on into the problem, showcase your skills, make sure that you kind of don't take a step back simply because you feel uncomfortable in the situation, or you feel like your opinion might not be taken seriously simply because you're a girl or because you're a woman. I think you should be confident enough to be able to say, even if even if the opinion of the majority might be different to yours, and you might feel a little intimidated, especially if most of your peers are men, or if your superior is male, you might feel there might be instances you want to take a back seat. But I feel like if you have the kind of confidence to say, look, hey, I've done my research, here's what I think, and here's why I think what I'm proposing might be better than what you have in mind. I think you should be able to just come out and say that. And you might be surprised, they could, and if what you're saying makes sense, they will definitely support you. So I think more than adaptability, it's just rising to the occasion and understanding what the situation is, and just putting your skills forward, and speaking up for what you believe in. However, I also think that another good way to be able to kind of gauge your surroundings and get support around you is also talk to your other female colleagues as well. Be open with them, have good conversations, because sometimes unfortunately we tend to take a couple of steps back, sometimes thinking that, oh, having this conversation with a female colleague might be harder than having it with a male colleague. So I think by doing that, we are harming ourselves, and we are harming the female colleagues around us. So I think you have to just kind of be open enough to speak to the others around you and have a support system, female and male alike. And if you have an opinion or a thought that you're confident in and that you believe in, then you have to just come out and say it. I think that's the only way to get your point across, and adapt, so to speak, in an environment.
So basically, we should not make being a woman or a girl a barrier.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because it all boils down to your skills and how you're going to help solve a problem, right? So I think you should kind of go head on and say what you feel.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Mrs. Tanjini, like on social media or on other platforms or in podcasts, maybe in talk shows, how would you portray yourself on those platforms?
Mm. So I am me, and if you meet me in real life, if you see my Facebook page, if you are with me on LinkedIn, or even if it is on Instagram or any other medium that I'm on, I am generally the same. So I am not. So when you look at things like LinkedIn, what I post there is a little bit more in line with what work I'm doing, or anything that is empowering, or something that is in more towards maybe things like mentorship and stuff like that. But if it is like a social media profile like Facebook, I'm careful what I post, because things can get misconstrued. But I am me, I am authentic. If I feel strongly about something, I voice my opinion. But I'm not one of those people who take down, maybe say I have a bad experience because I walked into a supermarket. I'm not going to name and shame and do that whole thing, because everybody is really working hard to deliver the best quality service. And I think we have to be respectful and mindful of that. We have also got very impatient, I think, with the advent of all of this technology coming into our lives. We want things happening pat. So recently, with me moving into this house, I needed some infrastructure put in place. And it was a very simple solution, but it actually took 4 months to get sorted. This is with me knowing every person in that particular organization at every single level, having conversation right at the top, finding who actually is doing the work and going all the way down to them, all of that. But it took 4 long months to get it done. I could have gone to a different supplier. I could have thrown a tantrum. I could have Facebooked it. But I'm mindful of where I am also in my professional life. And sometimes they say that with great responsibility, I think, comes a greater accountability or something like that. There's some Spider-Man little saying, I think, and that's quite apt for where we are in our lives, because when you're
Exactly.
there as a leader, you're also giving people an idea of, they're looking to you, right? Everybody's watching you always when you're leading a team, or if you're in that area of leadership. It's what you accept in terms of, how am I allowing people to see me, how far can they get with me, plus what is it that I'm putting out there. So you are like a brand, right? At the end of the day, you have all these different dimensions. You can choose to be authentic, which is something I propagate all the time, or you can choose to just be on show and be a different person professionally and a different person personally. And personally, for me, I don't think there's a differentiator. You are who you are. And if you're really nice, you're really nice. If you're really horrible, you're really horrible. There's no middle ground. But on social media, I think there's something called etiquette. So if it is a podcast or anything like that, depending on what that platform is, you should be mindful to follow that etiquette. Just because you're outspoken, or like me, I think I'm a disruptor in the best of times. But I am not a disruptor for the sake of being disruptive. If I stand for something, I believe in it and I stand for it across whatever platform. But you have to be mindful and respectful of the people that are there, the people that you're passing these messages out to, because you find that when you're in places of leadership, you can also be a very powerful influence. And you have to be very careful that you back whatever you're saying with not just gut feel, but know what you're talking about, because you can mislead people. Yesterday, I was having a conversation with a particular friend because I found a politician having spoken about something that I was not very comfortable with. And what I was saying is, again, these are people who have authority and influence. Like any brand or any marketing gimmick, you can shout the loudest, but you have to make sure that you've got yourself backed up with proper data points. If you have not done your research and you are just talking for the sake of talking, then you're not going to be looked at very viably in future, right? Nobody's going to look at you. They're going to think that you're a disruptive element and you're just being, loud about certain things just for the sake of it. So you have to be
Yes.
very careful. Whilst it's a great thing to be open, disruptive, and be on all these social media platforms, it also is an invasion into your life and people are watching you. So you have to know what to say, how to say, and where to say it. But I am
Exactly.
authentic at best of times. Yeah.
And also, the a leader doing a mistake might be giving room for the subordinates or for the other employees to justify their
That's right.
mistakes. Yeah, exactly.
That's right. So I had one of my colleagues, he had an issue taking some cash out of a particular ATM, but he's very young. He's an intern who's just come and joined our company, but he called me up and he said, Sanj, could you please tell me, I've had this issue. I feel I'm angry and I feel like Facebooking it. And I said, one of those people are our client.
Mhm.
Also, people will be watching you. So be very careful what you're going to say. I can't tell you not to do it, but I would advise you to think about it. I said, however, let me know what has happened so I can try and help you to get out of this situation. But think before you put something out there.
Yeah, putting a red flag.
Yeah. But what was more inspiring was the fact that as a young person, he actually asked before he did something, which is quite encouraging.
Quite encouraging. Exactly. So, Mrs. Imara, you are a top management executive. So, what expert skills of yours have harnessed you as a marketer? What have helped you to be in the position that you are today?
So I think I've been really lucky. I joined Eagle Insurance. That was my first brand management job. I joined as marketing communications manager, and I was there for 9 years. And something that happened and was very unique to Eagle Insurance is that it kept being bought out by new brands. So initially it was Eagle Insurance, and it became Aviva, Aviva and DB, and then after that it became AI Insurance. So during this process, I learned how to build a brand from scratch, and then also take it up there to build and establish it and build trust and brand loyalty and brand love within the consumer. So that I consider myself very fortunate for that experience, because I learned the value of following brand guidelines globally, creating brand guidelines, how over time when you keep having the same Pantone shades, same tone of voice, same visuals that you use, how it actually builds a brand new brand and strengthens it and builds very, very strong brand awareness. So that's something that I really treasure. Also, over time, I've learned how to write, how to communicate, how to say what needs to be done in different tones, how to speak to different people, how to speak to different target audiences, how to write it, and also very importantly, how to teach your teams how to do all of this. So those are all things that I have learned over the years
I see.
and have helped me to be where I am today.
Okay. And this message is for the audience. There's a Google form in the chat box that you have to mark your attendance. Please look into it and fill it up. Thank you. And my next question is to Ms. Kushlani. How does technology influence the marketing field? It has influenced every single corner of our lives. So what has it done to the marketing field? And how has it enhanced the efficiency in the marketing field?
So I
The
think
new the technology.
Sure. So I think throughout the conversation, we spoke about like Sanjini and Imara also both touched on things like artificial intelligence, stronger analytics, better customer intelligence that have all that are all made possible as a result of technology. So I think technology impacts marketing in different ways. One, it helps consumers, like I was saying earlier, also it helps consumers become more intelligent about how they are going to purchase something, why they are going to purchase something, and it puts them, it makes their buying power and buying authority even higher than it used to be, I would say. And at the same time, we as marketers can use technology to serve those needs of those consumers much better than what we used to. And we can do that also. So you know that the consumer is intelligent, right? So we have to be able to use technology to show the consumer that we understand your level of information, we understand your intelligence, we know exactly what you want. That's why we are creating products and services and brands to meet those unique needs. And that effort alone requires a lot of work. You have technology supporting you, you have artificial intelligence, and you have really strong analytics and everything supporting you, but still the effort and the investment that goes into creating really good brands for consumers takes a lot of time. So on the other side, technology is helping some of the more mundane tasks that we used to do, where we probably needed a person or a team. Technology is making it that much easier to help reduce the time taken for those mundane tasks, so that now you can focus on the bigger task of serving this extremely educated, intelligent, well-informed consumer. So right now, if you look at, I'll take one example. If you look at search engine optimization, if you want to know how do I know what keywords my consumer or my customer is using to search for my product and competitors' products, there are maybe 15 to 20 tools that tell you keyword variations of what they're looking for, what the search volume is for each of those keywords, what competitors are using in their websites, what keywords they are bidding for. So And just aside of the usual tools like SEMrush and Moz and Google Keyword Planner just for SEO, there are so many other tools that are available as a result of technology to be able to produce this information for you. And I think the other positive with technology is that it's also creating a platform to have some of these tools for free. So as an independent marketing consultant, I would sometimes find it difficult if I had to pay like $1,000 subscription to a tool or to a particular piece of technology every month. So understanding, and it would be the same for companies with smaller marketing budgets. So I think technologies and the companies that create those technologies have realized the different layers or the different levels of consumers that they have, and they are providing these technologies and tools in a means that is accessible to anyone. So I think yeah, just to sum it up, I think technology has empowered the consumer to a great extent. Technology is also empowering us as marketers to be able to serve this empowered customer a lot better than we used to.
I see. Very that answer was very informative. Thank you, Ms. Pushlani. And Mrs. Sanjani, are there any unique tools that you use in the field of marketing?
So you have different tools for different things. So some things that we use is, so as a marketer, sometimes we have to pursue leads, look at revenue pipelines, and I work for a company that has a regional operation, and we are in tune with everything happening in every single market. So that becomes very challenging. And one of the tools that we use across the board, across the region, is Salesforce. So it kind of like maps out every single customer we go and meet. If we make a lead, if it's a prospect or a lead or an actual opportunity, all of that is mapped. On top of that, all the sales orders that are put in, so every across the 9 different markets that my company operates, every time there is a quotation that is sent out, it's logged in on this. Every time a call is made, it's logged in on this. Every time you have a meeting, an update, all of that is logged in. So what it's doing is that it's giving the leadership an ability to go in and look at any given time across the different markets, what are all the opportunities that are there, what has happened, not happened, what is the historical pattern of how we are doing our sales, for example, or how we are doing our business development. Where are all these leads coming from? Is it coming from word of mouth? Is it actually somebody browsing our website and coming? Are we being recommended by our clients? All of that is mapped. So that's a tool that is readily available for most organizations, and I think most of the larger organizations use that. When I was in the technology business, which was a couple of years ago, it was a very small outfit, but we also used to use Salesforce for prospecting. Other than that, there is another section of it called Insight, where anyone who's a large client we do a full thorough thing. It's like an account plan, and it tells you what the business they are in. We map all the stakeholders of that organization. Then we look at if it's like a multi-dimensional, like say it's like a conglomerate. If it's a multi-dimensional organization, which areas have we got into? Which areas should we be looking into for this year and next year? What are the opportunities? What are the pain points that the customer is having? How big is this business? Because no point in going after business if business is not big enough for you to justify it. So all of that is mapped, and then we look at all the different solutions that we have to offer, and we see if there's potential for that particular account for us to do these different things. So all of that is mapped, and those are done on a monthly rotation where we have a discussion with all the regional teams, and everybody's in the know according to each industry, where we are, what we are doing, and what our priorities are for the next couple of months. In addition to that, we use tools like Jira. Jira is a tool that we use for to make sure that our teams understand once a job comes in, where it's at right through the life cycle. So it can be from a brief stage all the way to an end stage that is there. We use something called Nugget, which is a reporting tool for all our Facebooks and our Instagram campaigns that we run for our clients. We use things like DocuSign. It's so much more efficient now. You don't have to wait for someone to come into office to sign a document. It's all you can put it on DocuSign and you just make sure that it gets done. So that's been very helpful in terms of increasing productivity. Then, of course, we have other tools in the field that I'm in for us to find out insights about customers. What are they browsing? Where are they at? What are the platforms they're engaging with? So this becomes very helpful to us when we are creating campaigns for our clients. And it's our own DMPs and stuff like that. So it's a platform called Exact. Then on top of that, we also use your general Googles and the analytics from the Facebooks and stuff like that also. Plus, we in our organization come out with all these different dashboards. So it could be in a particular industry that is mapping footfall for a retailer, or it could be purchasing behavior, or it could be where a customer has their own data and they want to see what can they do with this data. So all of that then basically helps marketers to make better informed judgment, right? They know at any given time, this is their customer, this is what's making them tick, and these are their motivations, and these are the platforms that they can work across. So it's basically, there's like tons of different things. We have even video where we analyze all the video viewing patterns. So we have something called WACE. It analyzes all the video across different multi-platforms to see what is it that people are actually watching. And then it gives you an indication of what the product should be looking at in terms of touch points, like what type of messages are people more receptive towards. So in your next piece, you should be doing this. You can cut this particular many ways. Things like that also we are now dabbling with. Even things as mundane as digital requires you to have 15 different types of ads of your same campaign. All of that gets automated today. So you're not putting people's time and resources to creating all of that, but you put in all these things, it creates all these templates for you, and you can, it's called a creative automation tool, and you can automate it so that it's making your life that much easier. Similar to what Pushlani was saying about the SEO words and stuff like that. Now you can automate your creatives, you can template it, the videos, all of that also. So in my job role, it makes it so much more easier for me to sit and do the analysis or to strategize end to end when all of these things are in place. And I also lead a large team here. Plus, I'm supposed to be responsible to give updates weekly sometimes to my bosses in the other markets. So it makes it much easier when you have platforms in place that help you. Not necessarily that we enjoy doing those things, but yeah.
That is a very stuffed and a very rich with knowledge answer. I guess if someone gets to train under you, it might be a very fortunate situation for the trainee, because you are really, really rich with knowledge. So, Mrs. Imara, do you think that the women are being treated properly in the marketing industry? Or do you see any mismatches or discriminations or such instances in the field of marketing?
I genuinely believe that marketing is a gender neutral field. I don't think your gender affects how you are treated. It all boils down to if you're talented, if you're creative, if you have a strong business sense, and it's not your gender that will result in your success. So you can be a man and not have any of these skills, and then you will not get very far in marketing. In the same way, you can be a woman who doesn't have these skills, and then again, you won't have much success. So it's about how dedicated you are, how hard you are willing to push yourself, how much of an asset you are to your team and your company. You're not looking at 9 to 5. you're working late, you push all your boundaries, you even work 48 hours when you need to. You are there to, kind of support your team and eventually meet all the deadlines. And that is what will give you the eventual, success, and which will also give you the respect within your organization. So over time, when you keep performing and kind of proving yourself and creating campaigns that are really different and unique, then it's not just within the field. You get recognition within the field, out of the field, you're known for this. So I think marketing it's a lovely field to be in for women, because there's, in my personal experience, I've never faced any gender-based different types of treatment aimed at me. But I would say one thing would be that marketing is not a 9 to 5 job. And if you're a woman and if you're a mother and you have a family to take care of, there's a lot of compromise that you have to make. So sometimes if you have a male boss, you're expected to work as if you are a man. So the thing is, like, as a woman, you have to work. There's no differences. Like, just because you're a lady, you're not allowed to leave early. Just because, you have a child at home, you're not allowed to leave early, because work has to be done. Your deadlines have to be met. So it's a matter of balancing this fine, very thin line in meeting all your requirements at home and at work. So that's where the pressure comes in, and maybe that's where sometimes as a woman you may be treated differently because your team might not have the patience to understand that. So that is the only area I can think of. But apart from that, marketing is a perfect field for a woman to be.
So that depends on the teammates who are in your team also.
Yes, your team, your boss, and eventually if you're working, your work has to kind of take priority, because you're answering to a board, you're answering to a chairman, you're answering to all your fellow HODs. So sometimes your family has to take a back seat, and if you're in a higher position, you have to step up to the plate and deliver. So some bosses are extremely understanding, some are not, but that's,
Depends on your luck.
yes, depends on.
Okay. So, Ms. Kushlani, in general, in the normal life, men and women are totally different. In some instances, very different. So, in the same manner, they respond in different manners to the marketing tactics as well. So, do you think that this is controversial as men and women as consumers in the marketing field?
Well, no, I don't think it's controversial because they are two different user groups, right? So, in the kind of marketing that I used to do, which is technology marketing, we didn't differentiate between the female and male audiences because the message, it wasn't B2C, it was B2B. But I think it's absolutely important that you look at the two as two different user personas and kind of use the characteristics of each to bring out how they would perceive your product. Because I'm sure if you take any if you take any FMCG or the services industry, for example, I would think that depending on their target audience, if it's predominantly female, then they might adopt a different technique in their messaging, in everything from their visuals to colors to channels, timing of when they put out their advertisements or whatever it is. So I think that's fine, and I think if you are paying special attention to differentiating between the two audience segments and looking at serving them differently, I think that's okay. I think that's just you being detail oriented and not considering so much as a differentiation in gender, but it's a differentiation in audience. For example, even within the gender, right? Like, would you target 18 to 35-year-old females the same way you would target those above 50, for example, depending on the kind of product or service that you're selling? So I think it's okay to look at the two as having different motivators, different characteristics, and different reasons for wanting to consume your product and or service. And I think it's fine to look at them separately and craft messaging or branding or communications that meets either of those user groups.
Yeah, I see. So, Ms. Sanjini, do you still think that women in the field of marketing are still underrepresented?
I think women, not just in marketing, but in work, in professional life, is yes a little underrepresented. But I think there's now a growth in women coming into the marketing field. To be honest, even I hire people in my last year of hiring, I have had more females than male, because I felt that when they come and they sit for an interview, for example, um, I'm a person who doesn't just have the interview and just hire people. I give them an assignment and I try to see how they respond to that. So a lot of the boys shy away from assignment because I know boys don't like to write up all of these things. I have a son, and one of the things that I struggle with my son is the fact that every answer is like at best 4 letters and that's it.
Not so into writing
Women
stuff.
I have found that are a little bit more focused in terms of if you give them an assignment, they will think end to end and they will ensure that all the areas are covered. So I find more and more young girls coming into the area of marketing and coming with a lot more knowledge than when we started out. They can hold a conversation across your SEO to your digital strategy to something else quite eloquently. And it's encouraging to see that. I think now, more younger generation, there's a fairer representation, but maybe in our age group still far a little less because I think after you get married, sometimes priorities change, and the woman tends to stay at home and look after the children. Maybe come back into the workforce after the kids have gone above maybe a particular age group and they're a little bit more manageable. But I think one of the bigger challenges is how do you manage home and the challenges of making sure your family is looked into and everything is sorted versus coming into work. And like Imara mentioned, even with me, I was always one of the boys. So it didn't matter what the job was, I just had to get it done. If it meant being at a shoot for 48 hours, I remember as soon as I was 19 when I started working. And on the second day, I was not told when I came into your office, I was told, you have to go get this thing done for Happy Cow Cheese, launch is day after. And there is no option. You have to work late. And I finished my job that day, whatever I was doing, at 11:30 in the night. We didn't have phones at home. And when I went home, my parents were sitting outside on the road, not knowing where I had been or what had happened to me. And that was my christening or baptism into advertising. And ever since then, I was just one of the boys. It didn't mean anything, however girly I thought I was. It made no difference. I just had to get the job done, and people were as hard on me as they would be on my male colleagues. So it's encouraging to see all these young people, especially ladies, coming into this area and also coming with so much more knowledge. It's quite encouraging, actually.
That was really inspiring to hear that real life story. And Ms. Imara, do you think that this statement, multigender teams can provide a better outcome? Do you think that that statement is fair enough?
Yes, I definitely agree about in that. I strongly believe that marketing is never about one person's opinion. It's never about one person's ideas. It's a blending of different thoughts, different ideas, everyone putting their feelings and beliefs into the product, and then coming up with a really good communication that actually speaks to the required target audience. So it requires a lot of listening to people, learning their thoughts and ideas. And as a marketeer, as a leader, you can never think that you know it all, because you will never know everything, and you will always keep learning, and you have to keep learning in this field. You have to even learn from an 18-year-old school leaver. I mean, I love to listen to my younger team members. I listen to them. I learn a lot from them, because that's who I will be marketing to, and I need to know what inspires them. I need to see into their soul. I need to see what makes them tick. So it's always, marketing team should have comprised all sorts of people, all sorts of thinking, and it can't be just one set of standard kind of people from the same ethnic, from the same social standing, because then you're not going to understand another person. And marketing is about communicating to so many stratas and segments of society. So it takes all sorts to make a marketing team and to create very high impact and effective marketing campaigns, and to also create a very robust and strong brand. So yeah, I definitely believe that multi-gender teams, social background teams, it's highly essential in having effective and strong marketing.
I see. So, Miss Kushlani, if you could go back to the beginning of your career, is there anything that you would do differently?
Probably not, I think, because I feel like my career started the right way. I started, well, at least my career in marketing started in 2009, and I was a marketing executive. So I was handling a lot of the execution work. I would even do things like when a new person joined, I would update their profiles on the web page. So it was a lot of those kind of smaller execution level tasks. But of course, I was always given the opportunity to contribute to strategy and to talk about what my opinions and my thoughts were as well. So I think I probably wouldn't change anything. And I think the other positive about how my career sort of took off is I started in customer service. So I started off in a call center. I worked for Lankabell. I'm sure most of you aren't too familiar with this, but in 2005, Lankabell and Suntel both together launched the CDMA phone. Again, I'm sure many of you might not even have heard of it. And I was in the call center during that time, and that was probably the toughest time to be in customer service, because you got calls from all over the island complaining about issues with CDMA phones. People had to climb trees to get signals, and they were frustrated and annoyed, and they would take out all that frustration on the call center agent who would pick up the phone to take up your inquiry. So I think I learned a lot about patience from that first job, simply managing with angry and agitated customers over the phone. And I think learning that patience and how to handle situations like that, and it's worse when they can't see you. At least when they can see you, they're a little toned down in how they tend to yell at you. So I think learning how to be patient and how to deal with situations like that from that beginning part of my career really helped me in marketing as well, because I think if there are two things that you need to survive and do well as a marketer, it's patience and it's perseverance. Because a lot of the marketing efforts that you do, they take time. So if you're antsy and you're looking for results too fast, or if you're constantly clicking the refresh button of your ad analytics or something, expecting things to change quickly, then that won't take you too far. So you have to be patient, but you have to also be motivated enough, even if things aren't going well, to say, no, look, I'm going to try something else. Okay, this campaign didn't work, what did I learn from it? Let me apply those learnings to a different campaign. So yeah, that was a long answer to your question, but the short answer is no. I think I started off in the right way. Started off with the legwork, proved myself, moved on into a managerial position, again changed over into being a more holistic product marketing manager, where I had to do everything by myself. But I think the career path was great, and I think I started at the right time, and I think I started with the right kind of work. I think we
Lost.
okay. Back.
Hello everyone, I'm Naftali Hettiarachchi and I'm from the Rotary Club in IBM. We are currently having a small issue with our moderator. So on behalf of her and on behalf of our team, I'll be stepping up and I'll be taking over the session. So please bear with me and let's hope to have a smooth session. As we were speaking, the next question goes to Miss Sanjini. It's regarding what are the key challenges female marketers are facing at the moment due to the COVID. Maybe it can be seeking job opportunities, or maybe it can be in the industry as well for women.
I don't think it's generally just for women, but I think with COVID, what has happened is that a lot of us find that our families are 24/7 at home now. So you are going to have to deal with online study at the same time that you are probably expected to be at a meeting. So that challenge is there in many homes. It's not just for the ladies, but I think you find the husband is online, the wife is online, and 3 children are also online. So it's quite a challenge because you have to find laptops or I don't know, phones or tabs or be part of groups. So I think that all of that becomes quite cumbersome for people. So that's a huge challenge currently with COVID. But for ladies, what's happening now is how am I going to, I've got used to staying 1 year at home and being present for my family. How do I now step up again and go back into not being there? It's like I'm not there at home anymore. So I think that's something that is quite challenging. And I think what COVID has done is that even from an organization's perspective, they've had to let go of people. They've had to optimize, and so what happens is that only the best of the best probably remain. So a lot of people are losing their jobs, and you have to step up. If you don't step up, you are going to find it very challenging. The world is moving ahead. All these platforms now have come into being suddenly. So as a lady, what happens is that it's a bit challenging for us to get with the program sometimes, but that's because we put limitations on ourselves. I started as an ad executive. I was there for 14 years. I went into marketing technology and I had no clue what that was, but I evolved. From there, I went into an operator environment. I worked inside of Dialogue for a couple of years. Then from there, I went into apparel manufacturing, completely out of my depth. And now I'm back here in a place where I was really scared to take this role because I'm not a spring chicken. I'm 47 years old, and I was not sure if I could evolve myself into what is um, a more young person industry, which is social media and digital and AI and analytics and you name it. And I was really scared. But I think it's about how you're willing to put boundaries. You should never feel, you should not get into that comfort zone. You should, and there's nothing that we can't do as women. There's nothing that says we cannot do it. It's only we who say that we don't want to do it or put pressures on ourselves. So yes, it's difficult to come by jobs, but get into something that you love to do. Don't sell yourself short. Just don't take a job for the sake of doing it. If you don't enjoy it, if it's not up your alley, please don't feel afraid. Yes, you made a mistake choosing the wrong industry. Leave and make sure that you pick up something else. Don't be afraid. Make sure that you're not afraid. Ask the correct questions. And also, I think don't sell yourself short. Sometimes we feel like, oh, I can't ask for that kind of salary, or maybe this role is not suitable. Maybe I don't know how to do it. I don't think anything can prohibit you other than for you and this mind up here. So I think as ladies, yes, we are challenged. We have to balance multiple things, but you can do it and you can do it well and come out looking like it was really easy. Someone asked me if I'm superwoman the other day, and I said, no, it's just that I just don't get bogged down with what is there. I'm positive about everything and I have that aura and that attitude to everything that I do. So I've always been able to rise above situations and then do what I'm supposed to do. As long as you do that, that's all that matters. Whatever job you want to take, marketing or anything else for that matter.
Yes, Miss. So I guess to answer to the question I asked, probably I think, in my opinion, for you to cope up with the COVID-19, I guess it's because you had a lot of experience in the field, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think the company that I currently work in, they did a lot of stuff. Like we would get things happening, like just to even keep our mind going. They would put trivia sessions. They would put in, like, where we got exposure to kickboxing, or, the leadership took a stance and they were doing all of these things as well. So one thing that I didn't feel through COVID being in this organization was, oh shit, I'm going to lose my job. That was the one thing that wasn't there. So that satisfaction and that stability actually did support throughout the period. But by the time the second lockdown came, I thought I was going to lose my mind, because I'm not a person who can sit behind a desk. I love to meet people, talk, and go out there and be with people. So it was very challenging in that sense. But you have to learn to control your thoughts and also be adaptable, because what COVID taught us was, shit, things can change overnight, and you have to be resilient to go with that and evolve yourself to pick up the pieces and make sure that you keep yourself occupied and do something. That's what I learned.
Thank you, Miss. So, Ms. Krishlani and Simara, do you have anything to add to this question? As in how you coped up with COVID-19?
So like Sanjani said, I totally agree with her. I mean, working from home is a totally different ball game. You tend to get caught in all the housework and balancing that, and also being always online on call for all your work meetings, and having your kids disturb you, and then also looking into all their online work. It's been really challenging, but also it's a new way of working, a new way of life for all of us. And it's been, I think, at the end of the day, I really value this time. I value the extra time that I got with my family, because I never had that. I never had the luxury of spending full, complete days with my children, being there for all their meals. I've I've never had that. So I'm quite grateful to all that.
Thank you, Miss. Miss Kushlani, anything to add?
Yeah, I think when lockdown started and when working from home started, it was extremely difficult because I also am someone who really likes to interact with people. Although I was used to the working from home concept, because being in tech, that's something that's been around for quite a while. And yeah, it was difficult, and I think there are still days when I do lose my mind a little bit, but I think I figured out how to cope a bit better, given that now it's almost been an year. And fortunately, what I'm doing now, which is consulting, I've only had to go out for a physical meeting just the once. Everything else has been online via Zoom. So I'm really thankful that people are confident enough to entrust a marketing project to you without even seeing you face to face and getting a sense of who you are. So I think that's great that everybody is just adapted to this situation, and you're also respectful and mindful that others might want to not come out for meetings, and might want to stay at home, and have conversations via Zoom. So I don't have kids, but from what Sanjini and Imara mentioned, I can only imagine, and from what I've heard from my friends, I can only imagine how difficult it is. But I also have to take care of the usual day-to-day things at home. So I realize how much of so the place where I worked at, we got lunch every day. So now I realize how much I took that for granted, because now I kind of have to cook every day. So what I try to do is I try to balance my day so that the time that I usually need for things to be done around the house, I don't get calls during that time. Or if I've spent too much time doing something around the house, then I kind of try to make up for it either during the night or early morning. And I think uh, the the best way to go about the challenges brought about by working from home and from COVID is to try and reinstate as much normalcy as possible back into your routine. For example, fitness is a very big part of my life, and I used to go to the gym, and I used to work out and do all of that, and then all of that stopped. But I still make sure that, okay, every day by 6 or 6:30 I'm done, and I give myself an hour and a half to work out. And I think that maintains my sanity more than anything else. So if you had a part of your routine that stopped due to COVID, or you can't do it as much as you would like to because of COVID and working from home, I would say try to bring it back in some way, shape or form. Because I mean, we are human beings. I think we thrive around other human beings. So this has suddenly turn things around, but try to bring back activities that you used to do. Try to bring back as much normalcy as you can into your life, and if you do that, I think you will be more productive at work as well.
Yes, definitely. That was a really good, insightful answer. And yes, COVID definitely has its pros and cons, but either ways, it's a great experience for everyone, as for students as well. So we have come to the last question in our webinar, and it will be for the three of you, all three of you. And it's about like how can women in the marketing industry can succeed in their career, as in to reach higher, be potential, and to be influential. So what's your take on in that question? Ms. Kushlani, you can go.
Sure. So I think the first thing, this might be a little easier said than done, but I think be brave, Simple as that. Be confident because you are in a job, you are in a career, you are doing something because you got there because you deserve it. So don't second guess yourself about, okay, you know, I should take a step back, or I shouldn't say what I'm thinking. I should just let the others take this conversation forward, even if I have a really good opinion or something that I feel would really add value. So I think just be brave, give yourself credit, know that you come to where you are because you are talented, because you have the skills, because you're creative. So just put your best foot forward, and just say, you know, just say what you have to say, and say it with confidence. If you're not sure, again, don't try to just prove a point for the sake of it. Don't think that, okay, you know, I am a woman in a male dominated industry, hence I should have an opinion about everything and I should be outspoken every single time. That's not the case. I think if you have something valuable to add, and if you stand by it, if you believe in it, you should absolutely say it. And I think the other thing also is, sometimes we might tend to expect special treatment simply because, you know, you're a girl or you're a woman, so, you know, you expect them to cut you a little more slack than they do for your male colleagues. I think you shouldn't do that either, because if you do that, then you are creating that gender barrier, which is not really necessary. You know, if there's a project, if there's a deadline, doesn't matter who you are, you know, all of you have to give it your 200% to achieve it. So and know what you're getting into when you get into a particular industry. Now, take for example the working hours, and not just tech, I'm sure like Sanjini and Imara would say this as well, even like in advertising or in anything, the working hours are quite crazy, right? So know what you're getting yourself into, so that after you are there, you don't have to kind of try to say, you know, okay, I'm sorry, I'm a girl, I can't stay late at the office today, or something like that. You know, there'll obviously be an environment that is good for you, that will, you know, probably allow you to go home early if you have issues or anything like that. But I think just if you go in knowing what to expect, then you can avoid those sort of circumstances. And also find inspiration from the other women around you, or even from anyone really, and have people that you can talk to if you come across a problem. And this is something I think this whole notion of women supporting women, I think is very important, because if there are other women in your workplace who speak about what they believe in with confidence, and I think it's a good example for the, you know, other more junior kind of female employees that are there as well. But yeah, in short, I mean, be confident. If you believe in something, say it. Don't expect to be treated differently because of your gender. It's your skills that will take you along the way. And build a support system, you know, both at home, both at work and at home, because you can have a fantastic environment at work to be able to advance in your career, but if you don't have that environment at home, then, you know, you can't get to where you want to go. So know what you want to do, be confident, and just say your piece.
Thank you, Miss. Miss Sanjini, what's your take on?
I agree with Kushlani, and just to add to that, I think you need to be able to stand out from the crowd. So don't not ask questions because you have to ask questions all the time. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. I've made plenty of mistakes in my professional life. I've learned from them, and then I have been able to, you know, evolve. Don't stop learning. Uh, your learning doesn't stop when you get your degrees and you come into the work area and you forget about it. You keep evolving, changing with the times, keep reading. I keep telling all my team, because I give them challenges every day saying, let's see if you can outdo me in knowing what's happening today. Because if you get into a marketing role, you have to know what's happening everywhere around you. So you have to be informed, and the only way you can do that is to read. I spend a good half an hour every single morning going through articles on LinkedIn or any platform for that matter. When I was on LinkedIn, this was, I think, around 2007, 2008, people used to laugh at me. And they used to say, what is this platform? But look at it today. It's one of the hubs for professional collaboration and community building, right? And for companies like you were in Kushlani, WSO2, I think a lot of cold calling now happens on a platform like LinkedIn. So it helps you if you're in the B2B space to get leads, to pursue sales, to get references, ask people to mentor you. All of those things are possible. So always understand that knowledge is key, and learn to make sure that you are up to date every single time. So even if you're going for an interview, sometimes they come for interview young people and I ask them, what makes you want to join this organization? And you haven't even gone through the website. So at least when you're going in for a job, read a little bit about the people in that company, the type of work they do, have a couple of questions, because it's always good from where we are sitting when young people are coming in to see if they're really suitable or not. It's called culture fit, and I'm very big on that. You can be the best person in terms of your education, but if you don't fit in with the culture, I will never hire a person like that. So you have to ensure that you are there, and make sure whatever you do, not to sell yourself short. Have confidence and know that you can achieve anything. And like Kushlani said, just because we are women doesn't mean we can't do things, right? You can just do anything that you put your mind to, just as long as you're confident.
Thank you, Miss, for that amazing words and truly is motivating. So to add to that, Miss Imara, what's your
Yeah,
take on it?
to be successful in marketing, you should think that nothing is impossible, and the word no should not exist in your vocabulary, especially when you're starting out. I mean, whatever you're asked to do, whatever, even if it doesn't seem like it's related to your job, just to accept any job that you're given. And also, if you have a target, or if you're told to do something, or you yourself want to do something, and it's hard and there are so many obstacles and challenges that you're going to face, just think that nothing is impossible, and somehow even move mountains to make that vision come true. I think that's very important. And the other thing is, always in marketing, you have to think out of the box. You can't copy others. You can always look at others for inspiration, but always try to do something that no one has ever done before. That's how you can make your brand really stand out, and be established and eventually really loved. Then I think dedication is just a non-negotiable. You have to be dedicated to your job, and you have to give the time and focus that's required. You can't, like Kushani said, you can't just say, I need to be home early, my parents are waiting for me, it's late. None of that should be ever said. Even if you're 18 years old, you start your job and you do what's required and what's needed, and that's the only way you go up in marketing. And I think most importantly, you have to be passionate about the brand that you're selling or communicating about. You can't sell a brand if you don't believe in it, you don't love it. If you don't, you can't make others love it or believe in it. So you have to either start loving your brand, or if you don't believe in it, you need to look for another job where you believe in that brand. That's really, really important. Then you need to be, like Sanjini said, you have to learn, you have to be willing to keep learning, updating your knowledge, especially with social media technology. You have to be on the ball. You have to know what's the latest trend out there, and then you need to incorporate it into your job, into your marketing campaign, your communication methodology, and all that. And lastly, I would say you need to be able to put yourself in the other person's shoes, person you're communicating to. You need to be that person, understand that person's psyche, and that's the only way you will be absolutely able to communicate and convince that person to buy into what you are trying to sell or promote to them. So yeah, that's what I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Mara. Now we're moving on to the Q&A session, and this is for the audience. If you have any questions, please do ask our panelists. So the time is up for the questions. Okay, so we have a question and it says, how can someone adapt to marketing switching from other fields? I guess it's about coping. So it is to all three of you.
So I'd like to answer that. So I was actually in customer service since I left school at 18, and I was in that for a long period of time, and then I actually joined merchandising, and I was extremely unsatisfied there. It was very stressful for me, and it was by pure accident that I joined marketing. I joined this small ad agency. I left MAS to do my MBA, and I joined this very small ad agency, and I was there for 1 year, and that's where I found my true calling. I learned how to write, how to do copywriting, how to write press releases, how to communicate, and that's what really opened up this whole world of marketing for me, taking that one chance and just going for it. So if you have the skills, if you have the creativity, the ability to understand others, to sell, to, I mean, if you love branding, if you have a passion and knowledge for that, then it's something that will feel automatically natural to you. I mean, you won't have to force it. So it's where it'll be your comfort zone basically. So if you have to push yourself into it and force yourself into it, then it's not meant for you. But if it feels natural and that's where you feel, okay, this is my true calling, this is my career, then it's something you should get into and enjoy. At the end of the day, you have to really enjoy your job and love what you do.
Thank you, Miss. Ms. Sanjini, anything to add to it?
Yeah, so I have also gone across industries, but I have always stayed within the marketing space. So I've gone from being an ad executive to business development to corporate communications, then back again into general management and brand management, product management, and now I'm here with all these different areas that I grew up on, all coming together. So I think it's like Imara said, it's about loving what you do. And if you have a passion for trying to figure out what makes people tick, then marketing is the place for you. If you have a passion for creativity, marketing is the place for you. I thought I was getting into the ad industry to actually create stuff because I was very good with my hands and I would do a lot of stuff behind the scenes for certain commercials. I used to make stuff. So I assumed that it was an automatic progression. But unfortunately, my boss felt that I had the gift of the gab and put me into a client servicing role. And I thank him profusely for that because that's where I found my true calling. But you have to love what you do. If you don't love what you do, and if waking up in the morning, you're thinking, oh shit, another day at the office, that's clearly not the job for you. And I think you shouldn't be afraid to switch your roles. Don't do it too often. So what I do when I get a series, I skim through to see how many places the person has gone to and in what duration of time. So if I see like 1 year, 1 year, 1 year, I know that it's called a rolling stone. That person is just checking to see what's happening or just exploring. Sometimes that can go against you. But if you do 2 solid years in an organization and then you move, then you have actually understood that particular role that you have gotten into. So you have to make sure that, I know I say if you're not happy, move, but try and stay at least for a year and a half, 2 years in one role, especially when you guys are starting off. I know young people today, short fused, don't have enough patience, not like us or like my parents who did like 30, 40 years in one single job. It's not like that anymore, right? But be careful when you're hopping. Hop for the right reasons, not the wrong reasons. So I had one guy in the last about a year and a half ago. He had 4 jobs in 2 years, and all he was bothered about was that 10,000 rupee increment, 10,000 rupee increment, which is why he went from job to job. Now that's the, some would say it's a correct motivation because money makes the world go round. But I think you don't really build a career, because if you're in serious about a marketing role, you have to do the hard yards. If you do the hard yards at the beginning, it becomes a little bit easier as you grow up in that role. So do what you love and be passionate about it.
Thank you, Miss. And so this is going to be the conclusion of our webinar. And I hope everyone had a great time and got motivated and got good knowledge about the marketing field. And thank you so much, Miss Sanjini, Miss Kulshnani, Miss Imara, for sparing your valuable time to be here with us. I hope it's been a great webinar for you as well. And I hope our audience got something valuable for themselves as well. And I hope and have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And also very sorry for our inconvenience as well.